Done deal. One of the biggest corporate takeovers in Canadian history was approved by Ottawa today. Rogers is buying its longtime Western rival, Shaw, for $26 billion. It's a blockbuster maneuver that will create a telecom behemoth. But some questions do remain about whether or not it'll lead to higher cell phone bills for Canadians.
The way to drive down prices is through competition.
But in saying that, the federal industry minister approved the deal, which will eliminate one of Canada's 4 big telecom companies. The deal was first announced in 2021 and is a seismic shakeup to the industry. It gives Rogers a significant foothold in Western Canada, where Shaw is already an established wireless TV and internet provider with millions of subscribers. But to ease competition concerns, Rogers and Shaw agreed in June of last year to sell Freedom Mobile to Videotron out of Quebec for $2.85 billion, something Champagne contends will create a new national wireless player.
Having a fourth strong national player does lead to lower prices.
A statement from Rogers CEO reads in part, quote, "Building on a shared legacy with Shaw, we will invest substantially to bring more choice, more value, and more connectivity to Canadians across the country." But some industry watchers are not so convinced.
Rogers is making it out to seem as if this merger is going to bring tremendous benefits to people across the country, and I just don't think that's true. I think these companies are in a cozy environment where they don't really have to compete. It's more of a cooperative environment. You see that with Bell and TELUS sharing their investment in wireless networks across the country. Now you see Rogers and Videotron sort of teaming up as well. And so effectively, we really have 2 sets of competing infrastructure with 4 companies that are cooperating to build and operate it. That's not a competitive market by the textbook definition.
Opposition parties also gave the deal a thumbs down.
Today, they announced that they think that there's too much competition in the wireless and in the internet business, and they've allowed for a massive merger. When will they start standing up for consumers instead of standing up for price-raising and high-cost corporate oligarchs?
But Rogers and Videotron have agreed to 21 legally enforceable commitments that the government contends will actually drive prices down. They include that Rogers establish a second headquarters in Calgary, adding 3,000 new jobs in Western Canada, and that Rogers spends $6.5 billion in network and 5G improvements. Both those measures were initially proposed by Rogers 2 years ago. What's more, Videotron must offer plans that are at least 20% lower than its competitors.
Should either party breach any of these commitments, they will be required to pay significant financial damages, up to $200 million in the case of Videotron, and up to $1 billion in the case of Rogers.
Champagne says if wireless prices don't go lower for Canadians, the government will act.
I will have no choice but to seek further legislative and regulatory powers to drive down prices in Canada. And I can tell you that everything is on the table.
And the deal unites 2 of Canada's wealthiest families who have long fought for market share. Rogers is the parent company of CityNews. This deal is expected to close on April 7th.